Hello, my name is Rachel Cornelius, and I'm the manager of the Office of Partnerships and of the Teacher Education Program here in the School of Education and Human Development at CU Denver. I'm here to talk to your class virtually today about next steps to get on my list for the next field experience, whether that is EDHD 2930 or ECED 2930 for the EC or early childhood education folks. The process is all still the same. So I'm going to go through some of those steps and some of the important answers to questions that I hear often after I send out my email. So I'm going to share my screen now with a document that either the academic advisor or your instructor will pass out. So recently you should have received an email from me that talks about the requirements for the next field experience, EDHD 2930. If you're an early childhood education candidate, that might be ECED 2930, but it's not offered until fall of next year. So this is communication is mostly going to be tailored towards getting you set up for EDHD 2930. And then we'll go through another spiel like this in the spring to get you set up for ECED 2930 in the fall. So in the email that I sent you, it goes over the logistics of EDHD 2930, about how many days a week it is, your concurrent coursework, what the site seminars will be like. And then at the bottom of it, it tells you what I need to make sure that you are on the right list. So I created this little guide for you to help answer a lot of the same questions that I get after I send out those emails. So I've asked you to complete the undergrad field experience placement request form. Yes, you did fill this out when you were getting into EDHD 1930, but I'm going to need it again for every field experience that you will be seeking. The questions change based on which field experience you are seeking, and it's so I know which field experience you are seeking. I can't assume that because you're in EDHD 1930 now that next semester you're going to do 2930, then the following semester you'll do 3930. It doesn't always work like that. Every student has different scenarios, different schedules. They're different they're in different pinch points within the pipeline. So I need to hear from you what it is that you need so that I know what to get you. So on the undergrad field experience placement request form, I use it so that I know what field experience you are requesting. I use it because the questions that I need from you change based on what field experience you're requesting. It needs to be completed for every field experience. And now that you're going into 2930, now we're going to start using the responses that you provide on the form with our site teams at our professional development schools. So our site teams will review all of the responses from all of these forms to determine the best match for you and your mentor teacher. The questions you'll see, I'll pull up the form in a minute, but you'll see that the questions ask you stuff that will help pair you with the best teacher. It asks you about extenuating circumstances. It asks you about your district preferences. It asks you your zip code so I can see approximately where you live. It asks you questions like, what do you look for in a mentor teacher? Or what are your skills that you bring to the classroom? Or what brought you to this area of education in your life? They look at all of those answers to help match you with the best teacher candidate or best mentor teacher. The next form that I've asked for is the background check assurance form and fingerprints. Now, I am assuming that everybody in EDHD 1930 has already completed this because it was a requirement to get into the field experience. It's just a friendly reminder that it's only completed one time. If I asked you for it, it's because there might be somebody who had EDHD 1930 waived because they did it at a community college or because they took Pathways to Teaching or they did the Teaching Cadet program. Sometimes you might skip 1930, which means you might not have done it. So that's why it is a mass email that I sent out to you, so everybody gets it, and everybody might have different circumstances. So if you've already done the background check assurance form and fingerprints, then you don't have to do them again. But if you have not done them, go check out the form that I provided, read through it. It has all the details about the fingerprint process for the undergrad students. It tells you all about the VEX process that we have set up through the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. Reminder that once your fingerprints are on file with the VEX for these early undergrad field experiences, that will cover your background check requirement through professional year. And then once you are done with your licensure program, you'll submit one more set of fingerprints to Colorado Department of Education and then that's it. So once you put them on file with VEX through the School of Education, this little VECHS program, you're all set. Another friendly reminder that since your fingerprints are on file with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, let's say you had some bad luck this weekend and you made a bad choice, we'll find out about it on Monday. That's how quickly things are turning around right now. Depending on what the incident was, we might request additional paperwork from you, like police or court documentation or your side of the story. If needed, we'll take it to the teacher education administrative team to make a decision about what happens next. So just keep that in the back of your mind that since you have your prints on file with VEX, we'll always know what happens. So, okay, so some due dates. We have due dates of the 1st of April and the 1st of November. That will give me ample time to review all of the information that you've submitted on those forms and get you the best placement. We have a priority deadline of the 1st, and priority means that your preferences are considered because I have time to do it. The answers to the placement preference questions are reviewed ahead of time. So after November 1st, I'll pull all that information, compile it into a format that I then send out to the site teams, and the site teams review each and every one of those questions and preferences and comments and pick out the best candidates for their school, best matches for their mentor teachers. Additionally, the priority deadline allows a first come, first serve. So if you do really, really want DPS, get your stuff in early and you have a better chance of getting DPS. I will not make any promises or guarantees about your preferences. They are just likely to be more considered ahead of time. If you are late, you can be late up through the 15th of April and the 15th of November. That's our final deadline. And we have a final deadline because we know life happens and you might not have gotten the email or whatever life circumstances are. But we want to be flexible and allow you to submit it late, but anything past the 15th is too late. So if you submit your information after the 1st, but before the 15th, I will accept it, but I might not pay much attention to your preferences. The answers to your preferences might not be sent out to site teams until after you're already placed in their schools. And then anything submitted after the deadline, after the 15th, we are not going to be able to place. We're going to hold those, move them to the rolled list for the next semester to be considered for the next semester. A friendly reminder of your concurrent coursework requirements. So since you're in EDHD 1930 this semester, you should have taken or currently taking EDFN 1000. Those of you who are in the early childhood education program need to take ECED 2930 with ECED 4070. If you're looking to take EDHD 2930 in the spring, we're going to have to pair that with LCRT 3720 and LCRT 4710. If you've taken these courses before for some reason or taken them at a transfer institution, there's a spot on our form that asks you about that. So I'll show you that in a minute. And then finally, your last field experience clinical, your third clinical block, last early undergrad field experience is EDHD 3930. And that those concurrent coursework requirements are SPED 4030 and CLDE 3830. If you're in college or liberal arts and sciences pursuing a secondary content, then you only have to take SPED 4030. So those are my friendly reminders about those forms and why I ask for them again and when they are due. Now I want to try sharing my, where's that screen? I think it's this one. I'm going to share the early undergrad field experience placement request form so you can see those areas that I was talking about. So a lot of this looks familiar. You filled all of this out before. This is where you declare or mention if you have any fluency in any other languages besides English. Right here is a space where you can list your hardships. Please list those now, and it's a lot easier for me to complete your placement looking at this ahead of time versus getting it at the tail end. So if I know ahead of time that you don't have a vehicle, then I would do my best to try to get you a place closer to your house or like on the RTD, public transit. But if I don't get that information until afterwards, then it might be too late. This is where you declare what field experience you're planning to enroll in. So if we hit 1930, this internship placement preference stuff disappears. But if I hit EDHD 2930, it comes back. This is the question I was talking about, where if you've taken the concurrent coursework, either you've taken it already at CU Denver, or you've had courses to substitute, or you plan on taking both. That's just to help the academic advisors and myself understand why you're not enrolled in it, or if you need additional permissions. Please know that EDHD 2930 has co-requisite requirements with the concurrent coursework. That means that you cannot register for one without being registered for the other two. So you have to be registered for all three unless you get some advisor permissions or advisor approvals, which this question helps us do. Underneath this is your internship placement preference. We really encourage you to look beyond what's across the street. And I know it's really nice to say like, oh, well, this school is like right in my neighborhood, I want to go there. I also want you to really look into the districts and think about what district you want to see yourself working in when you're done with this licensure program. Encourage you to look at the mission and vision of each partner school district. They're all different. All of our schools are different. So we want you to not just think of the location and not just think of where your friends are going, but where ultimately you want to teach. What district are you interested in? Understand that this is the first of many internships that you will be doing at our professional development schools. So maybe don't always list the same district as your first choice. We have our district choices here: Aurora, Denver, Jeffco, and Mapleton. So if you want to try Aurora this time and maybe try Denver the next field experience and then professional year, you also have a whole nother options of districts, not options, but a whole nother years full of district options to pick from. Under here, we have the questions that I talked about, like what brought you to this world of education? How would you describe your personality? How would you describe your work style? This is so that our site teams can pair you with the best mentor teacher. You will be working with this person quite closely, so it's important that we match you with somebody that you'll really get along with and work well with. Know that it's probably a good idea to put some thought into these answers right now. And then when you submit this form again for 3930, you'll see that there's this little section here that says, I've already completed this for 2930 and like to reuse my answers. We can use that for district preferences, and we can use that for the answers to your questions. But now would be a good time to really put some thought into these, and then we can keep reusing them if you want to, or you can update them as you're progressing along in your field experiences. So that's the early undergrad field experience placement request form, due November 1st. The other form I wanted to show you was the background check assurance form for anybody who had waived EDHD 1930 and need to complete the fingerprints. You'll also have to complete this form. This form is where you answer your oath and consent form questions. And oath and consent questions are the same questions that the Colorado Department of Education asks you when you apply for licensure. And they are, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Or have you ever been dismissed or had your teacher occupational license revoked? Have you ever been dismissed or discharged in order to avoid discipline? Have you ever been dismissed or quit from college or university? That last question is a university question, but these are the same questions you're going to have to answer when you apply for your license. As well on this form is the fingerprint process. So you can go from the very top, look for the green, and then look under this paragraph that talks about the teacher education, BA students, and what you're going to have to do for your fingerprints. Down here is another chart that describes your options. And we don't encourage sublicense for undergraduates because for sublicense in the state of Colorado, you need to have a bachelor's degree. The best we can do is have you do fingerprints for the School of Education, and then when you're done with the licensure program, then do fingerprints for your licensure. Okay, so that is my spiel. I'm going to stop sharing. You have my email address. You have your homework. If you're going to be taking EDHD 2930 next semester, make sure that you get the form submitted. If you have any questions, send me an email. It is my preferred means of communication. And yeah, enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.